Welcome to another board game review. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different in that I'm going to be reviewing my very first war game. So bear a little with me because it's my first time. So what am I going to be reviewing? I'm going to be reviewing Combat Commander Europe. This is the second edition, almost the same as the first edition. So I'm going to start off with what's inside the box. Hey, classical. So, first of all, Combat Commander Europe is a card-driven war game. So, of course, you get decks of cards. Now, these three decks are the German deck, the Russian deck, and the American deck, which you're gonna use to play the game. I have some separate cards, like an initiative card and stuff, which I keep aside. I have some counters. These are counters that you have to draw random and stuff like that. That's why I keep them in separate bags. I'm going to be putting these aside for a while. Here's the track display. This is where you're going to keep all your information on. So the information you're going to be keeping on here is like victory points, casualties, which objectives you're going to take, your order of battle, the year you're battling in, stuff like that. What else you get is the Combat Commander rulebook, and I have to say this is probably the best rulebook I ever saw in my life. I mean, the index on this thing is great. If you're ever having a problem with something in the game, just go to the index and you find it right away. Best book I ever saw. Then you get Combat Commander Europe, the playbook. This will give you all the different kind of missions. And some missions will have special conditions or special rules on them, which is actually a pretty good way of doing it. Then we have the Order of Battle cards for every army, which also include the support tables that you're going to be rolling on if you're getting support troops. You also have two sheets, but I already placed them aside. They're going to be showing you stuff like terrain, hindrance, and line of sight, things like that. What else you get? You get 6 double-sided maps printed on very sturdy paper. Okay, here's your maps. What I do when I play a game is I place these maps under either plexiglass or glass. But for this review, I'm not going to be doing that. And of course, you get an entire bunch of counters. You get the American army, you get the Russian army, the German army, and you get support for them like heavy machine guns, light machine guns, mortars, and other things to keep track, which I put in the separate bags, like fire breaking out and smoke grenades being thrown, barbed wire, stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing a very basic review, so I'm going to go over it pretty quick. So I'm just going to take a chit hat out of here. Which one did I take? I took Lieutenant Hunzinger. Now, German leader, so you will probably not be able to see this quite well. So I'm just going to be explaining what's on the chip. In the bottom left corner of the chip, you get your firepower. So in this case, he has a firepower of 1, which is the number that you're going to be adding when you're taking fire rolls against enemies. The second number is your fire range, so how many squares, hexes you can shoot. The third one is your movement points, so he has a movement point of 6, so you can move 6 plane spaces. So if you have plain terrain, you can move 6 spaces. If you're crossing woods, a wood costs 2, fences cost an extra 1, stuff like that. On the top right corner, you have your morale value. This is the thing you're going to be using to defend yourself against incoming fire, which sounds kind of strange, but it's not only the morale of your troops, but it's their overall experience, something like that. And in between those, in between the movement points and the morale values, so on the bottom right and the top right, there's, for the commanders, there's their command points. So their command points and command range is how good of a leader they are. And if they have a value of 1, they could activate all the units within 1 square of them and make them do the same order as they just did. And they provide a bonus, like he has 1 point, he provides an extra 1 point bonus to all of their stats. So to their morale, to their shooting range, to their, you get the point. So all the things are covered in this game, like line of sight, hindering terrain, cover, stuff like that. So what you're going to be doing on your turns, you're going to be playing cards. How many cards you can play is determined by your orders of battle. Like on the order of battle, it will say if you get reinforcements and stuff like that, what quality they are going to be, either elite, line troops, or green, and how many orders you can play. So if you would have an OB that's put on the line, you know you would get line troops when you get reinforcements and stuff like that. And if it's on 3, it means you can play 3 cards on your turn. It depends how many cards you get in the beginning of the game. If you're an attacker, you get 6, defender, you get 5, recon, you get 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to take 6 and pretend like I'm the attacker. Some cards you can only play when you're a defender. Most of them are going to be actions, but it will say on the card. So let's take this for example. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. On the top of the card, it's the order you can play. In the middle is the actions, and the bottom we're going to cover later on. So if I would play a move order, I would play this card in my discard pile. And let's say I would play it on Lieutenant Hunzinger here. He would be able to then move all the squads adjacent to him and in the same hex as him. You can never have more than 7 people in a hex. So if there's a squad and there's 4 people on the counter, you get the point. So we could make them all move this at the same time. Now I could play, like here, is an action, assault fire. If I move my troops, all my troops, if they have a boxed, I guess, firepower, yeah, boxed firepower, they get to shoot like an assault. But this doesn't count as an order because it's action. You can only play actions while you meet requirements. So the requirement for this one is that you move. You could play other ones like an artillery request. If you request artillery, you get an off-board bombardment and you roll to see how accurate it is, stuff like that. Now let's go to the fire action. If you play a fire action, you're going to be shooting at enemy targets. So let's say that he and another guy are in a building and they're shooting at an adjacent square. So they all have a range of more than 1. But there's a fence in between. So a fence gives a -1 to line of sight because it's hindering terrain. Now you're going to be counting, let's make a fire team. So that means all the guys, yeah, I'll just explain. I play the fire card on the commander, and the commander has a range of 1. So all the guys in a range of 1 would be able to shoot. I could use them as a fire team, but let's pretend there's just one other counter in there, and he has a fire value of 6. Now that fire value of 6 would have a bonus of 1 because of the commander having a command point 1. So you would take him as the top firer because he has the best fire value. He has a fire value now of 7, and for each chip that's firing with him, you get a +1 bonus. So instead of 7, it's going to be 8. Then you turn over the top card on your draw pile, and it will show you a random die roll. In this case, 6, 7, 8. So there you go. You total it up. That's your attack value. The other guy is trying to defend against that with his morale. So he's going to take his morale, flip over card, add it, and then he's going to have the value, and he has to beat your 17. or whatever. The thing is, you can also use action cards to play as if he's in a terrain with cover, he could use the cover. Now he's in an open terrain, so it won't help. But you get the -1 because you shot over the fence. So there you go. That's basically firing in a nutshell. Now, what else do I really like about the game? Like, every time you play a card and you have a dice roll, it can show you a random event or a trigger that happens, like a time trigger. You move the time marker one forward, stuff like that. But if you have an event, you draw the next card and you read the event. Deploy. You may remove German squad from the map. If you do, replace it with 2 matching teams. So a squad is a marker with 4 people on them, and a team is a marker with 2 people on them. And there you go. So that's a fun thing for me. Like, you could have a fire starts and it starts to spread all over the place. It's a really narrative game. Like, every time you play, you really feel like there's a story behind it, and it's a very good card-driven combat system. Because, like in some games, like let's say Memoir 44, I'm going to be comparing it to Memoir 44, although it can't really be compared. Memoir 44 is split up into 3 different parts. You play a card, you can move troops on that side, stuff like that. You know that. Now this, your commanders are a lot more important in your morale. Like, this is the next step up. This is Memoir 44 on steroids, big time. Because there's a lot more detail to the game, and everything is actually pretty well, I wouldn't say simulated, but it is kind of simulated. And it's done pretty well. The cards, like, the Americans will most of the times have superior, let's say, firepower or something. While the the Germans are more organized, and if they break, so if you get hit, you flip over your counter and it will show a lower value. They will keep a high morale because they're better organized and stuff like that. So it's really important to know where to place your troops and having them move with commanders and stuff like that, keeping them out of range or hiding them in cover and stuff like that. So it's a really good game. Some people might complain about the quality of the game, since like it's paper maps and stuff like that, and you don't get plastic miniatures. And I do find that the price for the game is a little bit on the steep side. I paid 80 euros for it, which is actually quite a lot. It's more than Tide of Iron. But I look at it this way: you're paying for the system. You're not paying for the bling you get with the game. You know, it's a really good system, especially if you have the random mission generator, which you get for free, of course, with the game. That will let you roll up random scenarios, and you can keep playing the game on forever and ever and ever. So, if you're looking for a war game to get you started into war games now, I would highly recommend Combat Commander. Why? Because it's easy enough to learn, but it does have a lot of the fine-tuning of a war game. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it, and it would help you to decide if this is a game you would like to purchase or try. See you next time.